Traders, what is happening? I hope you are well. I noticed in the comments recently that a few of you have been having some trouble identifying your event one zones. Now, your event one zones is the zone where the market actually moves into before then you basically use the event chain to qualify that larger time frame zone. So that event one zone could be the daily, it could be the H4, it could be the H1, it could be the 15-minute. It just depends on what you use as your event one zone. Now, the main factor for me that allows me to identify with a high degree of accuracy an event one zone in the first place is where I am on the supply and demand curve. Now, the curve for me is very, very simple. It's not some big mathematical equation. It's simply this is currently the supply zone at the highest point of the curve being the high of the market currently, and the current low of the market currently. Okay, now if we're going to do this, we can also jot this up as, oops, let me just mark that in there. Okay, perfect. So this is current. So this is the highest point of the curve. This is the lowest point of the curve. And currently we are playing in the middle of the curve. All right. But the curve currently now lies in between this area of daily supply and this area of daily demand. Okay. So this is the big picture view. Now, if I'm a daily supply and demand trader, right now, this is my world. Okay, so in between here, we can see that we had this zone here that did not hold up price, but then we've got this ugly looking zone here, right next to it, that did hold up price. Now, when the banks and institutions came into this market, they produced some consolidation, basically just racking up the orders from the traders who are in this down move, thinking that the market's potentially going to push lower. They used manipulation, basically form of consolidation, to then take the orders away from these people to fuel their move to the upside back into this area of daily supply. Now, we've got a what out of this move? The first initial move down, okay, was around 337 pips. Do we think after the market's moved into this zone a second time, we're going to get another 337 pip move? I don't think so. We could have potentially maybe even got a 50 or 70 or maybe even 100 pip move. So that's the mind space you have to be in if you're potentially going to try and trade this type of zone again after orders have already been depleted. But now I hope that you have a picture of an idea of how simple it is to identify where you are on the current curve of your event one time frame. Okay, this is the current curve that I'll be looking at now. So if there's currently a daily supply that gets created maybe after bouncing out of this zone and a new daily supply and a new daily demand zone forms, I'm going to be looking at that with intensity to take this market up to this highest point of the curve. Okay, so let's just drop down now to say the H4 chart and let's see what we can see. All right, so we're just going to use some zones here. So let's just mark out some zones right here. So currently the highest zone on the curve is this area here. Where else? What else have we got? Okay, we've got a zone right here. Okay, and it would seem we have a zone down here. And we even have another zone down here. And this is fucking zones on top of zones right here. If we look at this, let's look at that. That is like a zone on top of a zone. It's like 3 zones on top of each other over here. That's crazy. All right, let me not even get that in because I just don't want to confuse you with the charts right now. All right. So this is where we currently are. Okay, so this is currently the highest zone on the supply and demand curve on the H4 chart, and this is the lowest current zone on the supply and demand chart of the H4 chart. So this is our highest supply zone, and this is our lowest demand zone. Okay, so now we can get a picture of what's going on. Okay, as we can see, this supply zone, H4 supply zone, currently held as the market moved into here. It moved down nicely. And then here we can see we've got like a really nice, actually, let me just make these so they're a lot clearer. And the last one. Okay, cool. So if we just take this away for a second, we can see that this is the lowest part of the curve. We've got like we've got like 3 zones on top of each other here. I'm not surprised it popped out of this area. Okay, I'm not surprised at all. All right, so we use this whole zone as our H4 area and we wait. Okay, we just simply wait. And as you can see, we've got an H4 event break here. So if you wanted to play that for extra confirmation, and then as the market then came back into this zone here, which actually broke it, and you could be looking at 15-minute event breaks and then play that to the upside. Okay, but it's just recognizing where you are currently on the curve. So as we know now, we're currently in the middle of the high and the low of this curve. All right, so now we've currently broken this area of supply. So we know potentially that the market's going to continue like a magnet to the next area of supply. Now, we can currently just start looking for H4 demand zones. All right, now the best place to look for the next demand zone is when this high potentially is broken. Because we know that after most highs are broken, there's always some form of a pullback. So you can look for this high to get broken, look for maybe H4 demand zones that have developed just before the break, and then wait for the market to return to those H4 zones, and then play a 15-minute or 5-minute event break to our next area of supply, which is up here currently at the highest point of the curve. And when the market reaches here, could we get a massive push down out of this? I wouldn't think so, because this was created on the 11th of March, and we probably won't get to this until, like, I don't know, some point in June, right? So I've not been looking to take a massive short out of here. It will probably get a bit of a bounce, but will it do any damage? I don't think so. Way too far out in terms of how long it's actually taken to return. Okay, so let's just get rid of that. Let's go down a time frame. Let's go to the H1 chart. And let's just look at what was going on here. Let's just look at this move. Let's look at this, what's going on here now. So we've got, some candles here that could possibly represent that on the H1 chart. It's just kind of the same. If we all right, let's go deeper in. Let's go deeper in actually. Okay, perfect. This is good. Let's get rid of that. So we could potentially take this as the high. Let's just actually not use that. Let's use this as the high. Let's use this currently as the low. All right, well, this would have been our previous low. That's fine. So if this is our high right now, then all we're going to be doing right now is looking for areas of supply to take shorts from. And there's a few areas of supply. We've got this area here. We've got areas like this here that I've been holding. We've got just an area underneath which held up price as well. It's not hard to identify. It's really not. Once you know where you are on the time frame that you're currently trading, okay? And even if this was taken away right now, so let's just do this. Let's just get a bar replay and let's just take that away now on the H1, right? Let's just get rid of that, and then let's get rid of that. So currently we know that we'll call that this would be the current high. Okay. This would be the current low. And as you can see, we've got market currently moving to the upside, making higher highs, higher lows. Sorry, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. And then we've got areas that it could potentially break from and then decide to go lower. We can move these up. We can wait for market to break here. And then we can decide what we're going to do from there. But currently the market is moving to the upside. So zones we should be potentially looking at are any H1 demand zones as it's currently moving to the upside. Okay. And really what we always want to look for, ideally, we're going to look for breaks of current highs and then look for zones around those areas that have broken that to identify for demand zones that will give us the highest degree of accuracy and high quality to actually get those zones, to then play the event chain of those zones, to then take them to the upside of whatever you're looking at. Okay, but currently right now, and then what are we looking at in terms of trend? All right, what we're looking at in terms of trend right now, because on the H1 chart, it's probably totally different to what the daily and what any other chart is saying right now. But currently, this was the downtrend. Okay, this is now the uptrend until the market begins to shift again. Okay, on the H1 chart, everything begins to shift depending on what time frames you're using. So all you have to do is literally just identify the zones that have currently held up price. Okay, so we can call that one on the H1 zone right now. Is there any more down here? You can see that this zone here currently held up price. So that's our current high and low of our supply and demand curve on the H1 chart. Okay, so now we're playing in between that. All right. So you do this on any time frame that you're trading to get an idea and to identify where you are in the supply and demand curve on the time frame that you're using for your event one. Okay. Once you mark out these zones, then you know exactly where your limits are and the potential is for profit as well. Okay. So guys, so just please pay attention to this. Please take this in. It's not the hardest thing in the world to identify the event one, because, you know, once you understand where you are on the curve, then it makes things simple. But what you don't want to be doing is throwing the event chain at every single zone that you see as your event one and hoping that it sticks, because you won't be profitable that way. So just keep this picture in mind every time you're looking for your event one zone on your event one time frame. And then this will help you logically identify where you are on the curve and then where to look for the best zones within the high and the low of that particular curve on your particular time frame. So that is that for today, guys. I hope this has helped in some way or degree. If you have any comments concerning this, then please let me know down below. And if you want me to create another video around this to help you identify zones again, and this wasn't enough for you, or I haven't explained things quite correctly, then please let me know and I'll do something about that also. I'll see you in the next video.
A true shinobi does not set out to seek glory. They protect from the shadows. That is the mark of a true ninja.